You are listening to the 4-Phase Cycle Podcast with your hosts, Megan and Alex of Zesty Ginger. If you're looking to naturally balance hormones and learn how to work with your body instead of against it, you have come to the right place. As a duo of an integrative MD and a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, we use the 4 phases of the feminine cycle in combination with functional lab work to transform the lives of the women we work with. Just a quick reminder though, this information is not intended to diagnose, manage, or treat disease. Always consult with your own doctor before making changes. Ready to take control of your health? Let's get started.
Hello, this is Alex again. Welcome to our 14th class here, if I'm counting that correctly. We are going to, last week I talked about elimination diets and dieting in general within the context of your cycle. Today I wanted to talk about disordered eating because we are constantly talking to women who have a history of disordered eating, and it comes up all the time because Megan and I are fairly open about our history with disordered eating. Megan actually had bulimia and orthorexia. I think I fell more on the orthorexia spectrum and have had various stages of disordered eating. I don't know if I would go so far as to say I ever had anorexia, but while I'm a naturally lean person, there have been times where I've been very, very thin. And most of all, both of us have shared our experience with the fact that with disordered eating, there is just, quite frankly, a lot of fear about all the food that goes into your body and what that relationship is like. And so whether that is fear because you have so many health problems, so many autoimmune issues that you feel like you can't eat anything, so you're constantly just like, oh my God, what is the least bad thing I can have? Like, what's gonna hurt me the least? Or you've listened to lots of health podcasts and like this one, and you're like, oh well, that person said I have to do this diet and this person said I have to do this diet, and the two diets are completely different, and how can I possibly do both? So you end up eating some weird, very limited combination of the two that doesn't really serve you and shortchanges you on the nutrients that you take. Or you have a flat out eating disorder where you feel most in control of your food, and that drives a lot of your coping mechanisms with stressors. It doesn't matter, again, where you fall out in this, or if you simply just feel like you have a tortured relationship with your weight and your food. This is everything that we're going to talk about here. We feel very strongly that none of our programs and anything that we advocate should be focused on a deprivation mindset. We very, very much want to move away from that. And so Megan and I have personally discovered this, and then as we work with women, this has been reinforced more and more and more. And here's the truth that I think we've realized most of all. When you try to do something that is good for you, but it puts you in that deprivation mindset, ultimately, even though you're doing a good thing, it will cause harm downstream in a way that you don't necessarily intend or can anticipate. Because what you are essentially doing is causing you and mentally to have so many parameters around you that the issues that you have not yet worked through will find a way to come out. And they will come out in such a way when that is, unconscious and you're doing it kind of knee-jerk reaction, you will eventually either sabotage yourself, or you will do something harmful, or you will do something really stupid. Okay? So, and that is how that usually ends up happening. I mean, think of when something's annoying you and someone like comes in and you're holding your tongue, and then you don't have a way to blow it off. Like, you don't go to the gym, or you don't scream in the car or whatever, and you get home and your partner says something annoying and you just yell at them finally. You know what I'm saying? Like, those are the things that end up coming out because they haven't been addressed. And with food, I think this comes out more and more because the only two endpoints for deprivation is either you get to the point where you're so undernourished that a new problem emerges, or you're so rigid and miserable that you abandon all of the parameters that you set out for yourself instead of some of them. So with all of that, I want to just give a concrete example. I, like I've said, have a severe history of endometriosis. I have a history of severe endometriosis, and for up until recently, we didn't totally understand why endometriosis happened, and now more and more it's being recognized as an autoimmune condition. And so for that reason, a lot of practitioners and people will advocate doing a autoimmune protocol, which is basically at its heart a fairly limited elimination diet that because autoimmune diseases have such it's such a flare-up of the immune system that it takes a while to simmer down. A lot of times people end up doing the autoimmune protocol for a longer period of time. It's not just a week, it's sometimes people will do this for a year. And just to get it out there, I have no problem with any elimination diet. Don't have a problem with the autoimmune diet. But for me, I tried to do the autoimmune diet back when I had surgery. I had some parts of both my ovaries removed and a fallopian tube and some other things. And so I thought, well, now is a really great time to do the autoimmune protocol because they have taken out a lot of the tissue that I had accrued in, adolescence, back when I didn't really know any better. And now that was gone, I thought, well, now is a great time to prevent it from coming back. And that's actually absolutely true, and I still, in my heart of hearts, believe that. But for me, the autoimmune protocol ended up kicking off a huge mental thing where I was in constant deprivation mode. All I wanted to do was think about food and think about all the food that I couldn't eat. I started getting really obsessive about calorie counting because I felt like I wasn't going to ever have enough. I started sneaking things that I wouldn't have even eaten on a normal diet and hiding it because I felt guilty about it, and I didn't want my mom, she was supporting me and helping me, and I didn't want her to be disappointed when she saw me breaking it. It just really put me in such a horrible mental place that I truly believe that the stress response that I was having to those thoughts, to those experiences, to not adequately working through my food-related traumas and the traumas that kicked off all of this kind of obsessive control over my food, that it really was doing more damage than not following the autoimmune protocol and eating my regular healthy diet. And so that is ultimately the decision I made. Now, do I probably have more scarring because I didn't stick with the autoimmune protocol? I guess we'll never know, but my guess is that yes, I probably have some more adhesions and endometriomas than if I had really stuck with it. But what the toll that it would have taken for me to stick with that ultimately ended up not being worth it. And I am the only person that can make that decision for me. And so people like my mom, who's really rooting for me to do that. She really also felt like it was really important. She didn't totally understand why I didn't want to do it anymore, because she was like, oh, but you're good at this stuff. She's seen me do all sorts of diet because I'm really good at depriving myself. And she was like, why is this one different? And it wasn't that the diet was different. It was that I was different. I was no longer willing to constantly feel like I wasn't enjoying myself. I wasn't enjoying my life. All I was doing was sitting and stressing about my food. And so for that reason, we want to be very, very careful in how we approach things. And if there is something that someone recommends or asks you to do that doesn't fit within your mental space right now, then that it's perfectly okay to give yourself the permission to not do that right now. Okay? And you don't want to do it in a way that again, you're not slinking back with your tail between your legs being like, "Oh, I couldn't do it. I suck." The idea that you're thinking is, I love myself too much to make myself this miserable, and I'm not willing to undergo the stress right now. Now, you want to address the underlying problems, and that is something that I've been working on, and my diet now looks even a little bit in some ways at certain times closer to the autoimmune protocol depending on what I'm doing, but I balance that out with as varied diet as I can because that is what I need. Just historically and with everything that has happened in my life, that is what I want to go for, and that is what works for me right now. Now, I have no idea when you're listening to this, if you're listening to this 5 years from now, from when I've recorded it, I don't know. I don't know what I'll be doing. I imagine that as I get farther and farther away from those years where orthorexia and kind of obsession with having control over my food is farther away in my mind, I think that some of these things may change, or I imagine that they change, but at the same time, I'm not necessarily worried about it, and it's not something that I am willing to stress out about. Okay, so I think this is going to be a shorter type class. There's just some food for thought. I want you to be very cognizant if you have a disordered eating history or have struggled with dieting and beliefs about dieting in the past. When you make even positive changes, make sure that you are addressing the underlying experience that you have within that, because it will help guide the best thing for you right now. So you will make lateral shifts. So it wasn't that after when I stopped doing the autoimmune protocol, it wasn't that I went to eating crappy. It wasn't that I gave up on everything and just said, "Oh hell, my endometriosis can just be bad." I didn't do any of that. It was just that I realized that the benefits and the risks, the benefits didn't outweigh the risks at this time. And that is all it told me, right? We want to be very cautious about making statements that build on negative beliefs that we have. So instead of saying the autoimmune protocol isn't good for me right now, I could have really spiraled into, I don't have any willpower. This is why I always suck at diets, like blah, blah, blah. I'm a horrible person, all of that stuff. You want to draw the conclusion that you can actually make. And if that is, this isn't good for me right now, then that is absolutely the decision that you have to make. And then after that, what you maintain, the maintenance portion of this is that as you go and you say, well, I'm eating this because I choose to, you will explore that relationship further. What is it about taking away that food that causes that deprivation? What is it that sets you off? And with that idea, then you're going to take on everything and begin to figure out the root causes. And that will ultimately get you results much more than actually forcing yourself to do something that you don't feel good about. Okay, so that is it for this podcast. We will be back talking about much more stuff about food, more stuff about movement, more stuff about rituals. So come on back and we'll hit up all of those. I'll see you later.
Hey, thanks for stopping by this Podclass. If you are ready to dig deeper into your health, really understand your cycle, stop guessing with random supplements, and start testing, our Healthy Hormones group starts September 27th. You can find more details at zestyginger.com/healthy hormones and find out if this is the place for you. And as always, we offer free 20-minute consultations, so jump on the phone with us and we'll help you decide if it's a good fit.